Hello, this is my very first video on YouTube. Interesting time, and I've had a lot to say for a long time. I wasn't sure that anybody would care to hear it. However, I feel like since everybody and their brother, and sister for that matter, has a voice these days, I might have something to offer to the conversation. So, my name is Tim. I am in my mid-30s. I served as a soldier in the U.S. Army for 15 years. I was a Joe, or a young soldier. Made it to the ranks of non-commissioned officer. And eventually became an officer and was medically separated for combat wounds 2 years ago as a captain. Now, I got to do a lot of cool stuff while I was in the service. And that's maybe a little bit of what I want to talk about. I'll give you a little bit of my background, and then if you have any questions, feel free to comment. So I raised my hand on August 22nd, 2001. Now, for those of you old enough to remember that time, and maybe some of you that don't, but are aware of history, that was just a few short weeks before 9/11. Now, I didn't join the military to do anything other than serve. I wanted to serve. I'd always wanted to be a soldier. I loved being a soldier. But there's certainly a difference between training for potentially going to war and training knowing you're going to war. That happened while I was just a brand new young guy, young soldier. Not even a soldier yet, actually. And exactly what you would expect happened. Exactly what I expected to happen happened. I trained. I was artilleryman. Participated. I didn't hit up Afghanistan initially. I went to Iraq, and I served in the invasion of Iraq. And with the 3rd Infantry Division. But I was a cashier placement, so my position was sketchy. So I didn't actually go with a unit on my first tour. I went as an individual augmentee. And so I kind of got thrown into a unit in Kuwait before we went up north. Anyways, I can talk about the details of my deployments at some other time. I'm not gonna. This isn't what this is about on this specific video, but I can talk about it, and I'm willing to talk about it. I don't have any reservations talking about anything that I did, or anything that I saw, or anything that I experienced. And that's kind of why I want to start this, is to kind of open up the door, or maybe the book, on maybe something that's not really talked about very much with guys like me, or people that fit in my category of veteran. The ones that went over and participated in combat operations, active combat operations, and endured, what maybe you might expect one would endure. Anyways, so I came back from that. I did the super soldier route, as I called it. I happened to be a pretty fit guy then, and I'm getting back there now. I was pretty good at not being intimidated by the chain of command. I spoke my mind. Was not against studying and learning. So I was afforded the opportunity to do a bunch of what we call in the Army boards. I was a board soldier for a while. But I wasn't a board soldier, for those of you who are going to be like, oh, he was a board soldier. He didn't know shit. No, I did. I did both. You can ask anybody I served with. I could do both. And the only reason why I did so well on the boards is I would see my competitors, and I'd be like, they're not better than me. And I would beat them. And that's kind of the mentality that I've had, is I may not want to do something, and then I see my competition, and then the competitive drive kicks in, and then I go full tilt forward and do what I got to do to win. I got married young, like most soldiers do, at 21, barely 21, barely. She was 20 at the time, barely 20 at the time, but we're still married. So that's something not a lot of soldiers do is get married at 21 and stay married happily at that. I've got two small children, and they are awesome, and I love them to death, and I hope to have more. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We'll see what happens on that. I was an instructor for a while in the Army. I taught a skill set that artillerymen need to know. I did that for a while. I ran operations. I did all sorts of things. Eventually, I applied for what's called a Green and Gold Scholarship, and I was accepted. And it was totally an accident. I didn't actually want to be an officer. It's something I got to tell people when they're like, "Oh, you were an officer." Well, I didn't really want to be. I actually did it because I was deploying again, and my family was kind of pestering me a little bit. And I'd been gone a lot in those first 4 years. But I applied for the scholarship. RXO told me about it, and he's like, "Hey, try for the scholarship. You know, at the very least, you can tell him you tried." And I did, and guess what? Well, I was accepted. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. I went through the whole college thing at a normal university and ROTC simultaneously while I was married as a combat vet who was older than everybody in my class, but couldn't really relate to anybody in my class. But I made it work. You know, I started out like an asshole, like I was, and I probably still am to a degree. Yeah, I pretty much am. But I did the college route, did well, got my degree in history. I know it's worthless unless you're going to be an Army officer, which ended up paying up huge dividends for me later on down the road. So I was commissioned as an artillery officer. I led soldiers in combat as a platoon leader. I led soldiers as a fire support officer in an infantry company. I got to do all sorts of cool stuff as a lieutenant that you just... I'm not sure many lieutenants get to do the depth and breadth of stuff that I did and realize that they're doing it. I happen to have that enlisted background, which helped give me some depth and perspective. Anyways, I ended my career as an assistant professor of military science. So I taught leadership and I taught military science, which is another thing I kind of want to talk about in this on this page, as it were, because I think there's a lot of things that are missed when it comes to young soldiers or Marines, whatever, or leaders for that matter. There's a lot of things that are missed, and there's a lot of concepts that may be difficult for people to grasp, and I'd like to help any future leader or current leader for that matter at the small unit level or at the small corporate level or whatever, and how to be a better leader, a combat leader, like how to do that. I loved that assignment, and I'll never talk smack on the millennial generation because my students were in that demographic, and I pushed them, and I pushed them hard, and I had high expectations for them, and they performed. So, anyways, that pretty much sums it. Unfortunately, I did get hit a couple times while I was overseas. By the time I got into my 30s, the wear and tear on the job kind of wore on me. I'm sorry. And I also kind of got caught up in a bad time with the military when they were downsizing, and I gave them an opportunity to kick me out, which I didn't expect to happen. Or they didn't kick me out; they medically separated me, and I got medically separated, unfortunately. But that's life. That happens. So, 2 years ago today, I was on terminal leave, and I was grossly overweight. I'm 5'8". I'm not tall. I'm not big. Pretty strong, but I weighed 218 pounds the day I went on terminal leave, which is pretty pathetic. It's the biggest I've ever been. I was in chronic pain. I was basically in a situation where the medical professionals determined that I would be crippled within 5 to 10 years, and I would just have to live with chronic pain for the rest of my life. That's it. That's like bottom line. And me being the person that I am, I decided, nah, I just don't think so. So since then, I have worked hard. I got back on a fitness plan. I cleaned up my nutrition. I train jiu-jitsu now very often. I do some kickboxing and Muay Thai on the side. Mainly jiu-jitsu. I lift weights. And I am back down. I'm lighter than I've been in about 7 years now. I'm more flexible, and jiu-jitsu's awesome. Now, you may see me from time to time on this page with black eyes or, some marks on my face or bruises. My wife's not beating me up, I promise you. They may be from my wife because she does jiu-jitsu too, but she's not beating me up. We're just training, so don't think anything of it. But anyways, this is my introduction. I kind of want to see where this page is going to go. I am interested in speaking with you all. If you have questions for me, or if you're even interested in anything I have to say, leave it in the comments. Please subscribe, because I plan on doing quite a lot more in the coming years. Thank you much. Take care. I'll talk to you later.